I think I didn't do anything wrong, just tried to get his attention. But the moment I kissed my ex at my husband's birthday party and saw the lawyer's envelope a week later, I knew I'd lost everything. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. I'm Liora Vane, 34, and if you asked me a month ago, I would have said my marriage was fine. Maybe not perfect, but comfortable. The kind of life people envy from the outside. A nice house, 2 healthy kids, a husband who never raised his voice. What more could I want, right? But when comfort turns into being invisible, it starts to feel like a slow death. I didn't think I was doing anything wrong, just trying to make him notice me again. So when my ex showed up at Aaron's birthday party, I thought a little spark of jealousy might remind my husband that I still mattered. It was supposed to be harmless, a joke, a game. I didn't plan the kiss. It just happened. The way Aaron looked at me afterward, so calm, so cold, I should have known something inside him had snapped. But I told myself he'd get over it. He always did. I didn't realize until the envelope arrived, my name printed above the words, "Notice of Separation," that this time he wasn't walking away to cool off. He was walking away for good. And now I'm left wondering how a single moment of attention cost me my entire life. I spent the whole week planning Aaron's birthday like it was some kind of redemption project. The big 3-7 wasn't a milestone, but I told myself it mattered because I needed it to matter. I wanted him to look at me the way he used to, like I was the reason his world made sense. Instead, lately, he'd been looking at blueprints and emails and whatever lived inside his laptop more than he ever looked at me. So I decided I'd throw him the perfect dinner, just family and a few close friends, something warm and elegant. I told everyone it was at this new restaurant downtown with soft lighting and linen napkins that made everything look expensive. By Thursday, I was pacing the kitchen rehearsing my to-do list out loud. The twins were upstairs arguing about who got the last granola bar, and Aaron was in his office on another late call. He didn't even notice I'd bought him the watch he'd been eyeing for months. I left the bag on his desk hoping he'd see it when he looked up from his spreadsheets. He didn't. I told my mother on the phone that he'd been distant. "Men get like that when they're tired," she said. "Just remind him he's lucky." That's what she always said, as if marriages were built on small performances of gratitude instead of actual connection. Still, I let her words feed me. I wasn't doing anything wrong after all. I just wanted to feel seen. That night, I scrolled through old photos on my phone, the ones from our first years together. I looked good in all of them. Toned arms, bright hair, that effortless smile that came from being adored. Back then, he'd call me his spark. Lately, I felt more like a routine. I stared at one picture long enough to notice a name pop up on my screen, Daniel Reed. It took me a second to remember I'd never deleted his number. My ex. The one before Aaron. The one who used to make every room feel like it revolved around me. He'd texted, "Heard you're planning a party for your man. You still do that perfect host act?" I laughed out loud, even though my stomach tightened. I typed back before I could think, "Still do it better than anyone." Then I erased it, then retyped, then hit send. When he replied with a winking emoji, I told myself it was nothing. A little nostalgia, harmless. I didn't even mention Aaron's party, but the seed had been planted. The next evening, while Aaron worked late again, I poured a glass of wine and FaceTimed my sister, Clara. She's the quiet one in the family, the one who thinks before she talks, which has always been our main difference. "He's barely looked at me in weeks," I said, staring at my reflection in the laptop screen. "Sometimes I think he wouldn't even notice if I disappeared." Clara frowned. "You're overthinking again. You two just have different rhythms." "Different rhythms," I repeated. "He spends all his time at work, and when he's home, he acts like the kids and I are noise he has to tune out. How am I supposed to feel?" She hesitated. You could tell him that instead of turning it into a test. I laughed. Too sharp. Who said anything about a test? But her look told me she knew better. She's always been too good at reading me. I ended the call before she could start another speech about communication and respect. Friday morning, I found Aaron in the kitchen, packing his lunch like he always did, precise, quiet, predictable. I leaned against the counter and said, "Don't make plans tomorrow night. Everyone's expecting you at the restaurant." He glanced up briefly. "I didn't realize you were organizing something. Thought we were doing something small at home." "It's not a surprise," I said quickly, though it sort of was. "Just dinner with people who care about you. You deserve it." He nodded, but his eyes didn't light up. "Thanks, Lee. You didn't have to go to all that trouble." There it was again, that tone, polite distance dressed up as gratitude. I wanted warmth, reaction, anything. "It's no trouble," I said, forcing a smile. "I like making things nice for you." He kissed my cheek absently before leaving, already scrolling through his phone. I stood there feeling invisible. That night I texted Daniel again. "You still live near downtown?" He replied almost immediately. "Still around." "Why?" My fingers hovered. "Hosting something tomorrow. Might be fun." He sent a laughing emoji. "You inviting me to your husband's party? It's just dinner. Bring your charm." When I hit send, I told myself it was a joke. I wasn't actually serious. But deep down, I knew I wanted to see what would happen. I wanted Aaron to see that other people still noticed me, that I could light up a room if I wanted to. Saturday came, and I spent the morning at the salon. Fresh curls, new dress, a color that made my skin glow. When I got home, Aaron was fixing a toy car with the twins. They looked up at me, and one of them said, "Mommy looks like a movie star." Aaron smiled faintly, but didn't comment. He didn't even ask where the dress came from. I told myself he'd notice later. The restaurant was everything I'd planned. Dim lights, warm music, candles flickering on every table. Our friends arrived in small clusters, laughing and hugging. My mother was the first to pull me aside and whisper, "See, he'll remember why he married you after tonight." I nodded, though I wasn't sure if I believed it. Aaron arrived a few minutes late, fresh from work, tie loosened, that calm engineer's face he wore like armor. When he kissed me hello, I leaned in longer than usual, hoping to remind him what he'd been missing. He smiled politely. That was it. Dinner went smoothly. People toasted him, joked about his projects, told stories. I laughed when I was supposed to, though my mind kept wandering. Then, just as the dessert plates were being cleared, I saw Daniel walk in. He hadn't changed much. Same confident grin, same careless posture. He spotted me immediately and waved. My heart jumped, then raced. I told myself it was just nerves. He came over, greeted everyone like he belonged there, and somehow ended up sitting across from me. Aaron's eyebrows lifted slightly, but he said nothing. "Old friend," I said, too casually, when Aaron looked at me. "We dated ages ago. You've probably heard me mention him." "I remember," Aaron said simply, his tone unreadable. I laughed it off, ordering another round of drinks. The conversation drifted, loud and bright, and for a moment I felt like my old self, the woman people looked at, the woman who could still draw attention without trying. When the waiter brought out the cake, everyone started singing. Aaron looked embarrassed but happy, and I thought maybe, just maybe, I'd fixed everything. Then Daniel leaned close during the applause, his voice low enough that only I could hear. "Still like being the center of the room?" I smirked. "Someone has to." He chuckled. "Guess some things don't change." When the music rose and people cheered, I felt reckless. I don't even know why I did it. Maybe it was the wine, maybe the months of feeling unseen, maybe the way Aaron smiled so mildly as if I were furniture. I turned toward Daniel, leaned in and kissed him. It wasn't long, just enough for gasps to ripple through the table. When I pulled back, everyone was staring. Aaron's face was pale, his eyes steady, too steady. I laughed, trying to play it off. "Oh, come on, everyone relax, it's a joke." No one laughed, not even Daniel. Aaron stood, straightened his jacket, and said quietly, "I'll drive myself home." He left without another word. For a second, I wanted to chase him, but pride pinned me to my seat. My mother's voice filled the silence, nervous and sweet. "He's just shocked, dear. Men are sensitive about these things." I smiled like I agreed, though inside something was collapsing. Later that night, when I got home, the house was dark except for the hallway lamp. His shoes were by the door, but his wedding ring wasn't on the counter where he usually left his watch. I found it in the kitchen, next to the untouched cake box from the restaurant. The watch I'd bought him was gone. I told myself he'd cool off. He always did. But as I sat on the couch replaying the scene, the laughter that had once felt like victory now echoed like shame. And for the first time, a small, cold thought crept in. Maybe this time he wouldn't come back. The morning after the party, I woke up alone. The side of the bed where Aaron usually slept was cold, the pillow untouched. For a second, I thought maybe he'd gone for an early run. He did that sometimes when work was stressful. But then I remembered the look on his face last night. That still, hollow calm. No anger, no yelling, just absence. I tried to shake it off. He'd come home late, I told myself, maybe crashed on the couch. But when I went downstairs, the couch was empty, his car keys were gone, and the note on the counter was so ordinary it felt cruel. Taking some time to think. "Don't wait up." That was it. No name, no heart, no promise. I stood there staring at the words until they blurred. My mother called around 9, full of nervous energy. "He'll get over it, Liora. Men hate being embarrassed, but they cool off fast. Just act normal. Don't make it bigger than it is." I said I wasn't worried, though my voice betrayed me. After we hung up, I found myself scrolling through social media, half hoping someone had posted photos from the party. I needed to see how it looked from the outside, to prove it hadn't been as bad as it felt. There it was, a tag from one of Aaron's co-workers. The cake, the candles, everyone smiling. And in the corner of one frame, blurry but obvious, Daniel's face turned toward mine. My hand on his shoulder, my head tilted too close, my stomach dropped. The comments were all polite. "Great night. Congrats, Aaron." But I could almost feel the judgment underneath. People notice these things, even when they pretend not to. I sent Daniel a quick message. "Might want to take it easy on social media. People talk." He replied almost instantly. "Didn't post anything." "Why, feeling guilty?" "Don't be dramatic," I wrote back. "It was just a stupid moment." "Sure. Whatever you say. Just a moment." I could almost hear the smirk in his words, and it irritated me. The whole point of inviting him was to remind Aaron I was still desirable, not to actually start drama. Daniel never understood nuance. By noon, Clara called. Her voice was calm but sharp in that way she gets when she's already made a judgment. "I heard about the party," she said. "From who?" "Mom mentioned it. Said there was an incident." I rolled my eyes. "She's exaggerating. It was a joke that got taken out of context." "Liora, you kissed another man at your husband's birthday dinner." "I didn't kiss him. It was more like—" I hesitated. A stupid impulse. People overreacted. "Did Aaron overreact?" she asked quietly. Her tone made me defensive. "He walked out. Didn't even let me explain." "Who does that? He's acting like I cheated on him." "Didn't you?" The silence stretched. "I didn't," I said finally, though it didn't sound convincing. "It was 2 seconds. Everyone's acting like I burned the house down. Maybe because, in a way, you did." I hung up before she could say more. Clara always liked Aaron too much. By evening, he still hadn't come home. The twins kept asking where Daddy was, and I kept saying he was working late. Lying came too easily. After they went to bed, I poured a glass of wine and started pacing the kitchen, checking my phone every 5 minutes, even though I knew he wouldn't text. When I couldn't stand the silence anymore, I messaged him. "Can we talk? This is getting ridiculous." He didn't respond. I waited half an hour, then sent another. It was nothing. "You made a scene by leaving. People are gossiping. Please come home." Still nothing. I ended up calling Daniel instead. He answered on the second ring, his voice smooth and amused. "Did the husband throw your things out yet?" "Don't start," I snapped. "You made things worse." "Me? You're the one who kissed me in front of half the restaurant." I was trying to make a point. "Yeah," he said, laughing softly. "You made one, all right." "Can you not joke about this? He's furious." "He should be," Daniel said. "If someone did that to me, I'd be gone too." That stung. "You're enjoying this," I said. "Maybe a little. You always did like playing with fire." "I didn't plan it," I protested. He sighed. "Then stop pretending you didn't want it." I hung up on him. The next morning, Aaron still hadn't come home. I tried calling him at work, but the receptionist said he'd taken personal leave. That was when the panic started to settle under my skin. Not the kind that makes you cry, but the kind that makes you pace and talk to yourself, just to fill the air. My mother stopped by uninvited, carrying a casserole and judgment disguised as concern. "You can't let him stay mad too long," she said, setting the dish on the counter like it might fix everything. "He's a good man, but they all have pride. You need to show him you're sorry before someone else gets in his ear." "I'm not groveling," I said. "He'll calm down." She frowned. "You always think people will come around. Not everyone does." After she left, I sat in the living room scrolling through old texts from Aaron, the ones that started with "Can't wait to see you tonight" and ended, months later, with "Don't forget the twins' dentist appointments." The slide from love to logistics had been so slow I barely noticed until it was gone. That night, I couldn't sleep. I replayed the kiss over and over, convincing myself it wasn't my fault. Aaron had pushed me to this. He'd been distant for months. I'd tried everything, dressing up, being supportive, keeping the house running. What was I supposed to do when he acted like a ghost in his own home? By Monday morning, I'd built my defense so well that I almost believed it. I went to work as if nothing had happened. But the looks from my co-workers told me someone had already talked. One of them, Denise, stopped by my desk during lunch. "So," she said, lowering her voice, "rough weekend?" I froze. "Why do you ask?" "Oh, no reason," she said, smiling like she knew something. "Just, people talk. You know how small this city is." I laughed lightly. Rumors always sound worse than the truth. She nodded, unconvinced, and walked away. By the end of the day, my phone buzzed with a message from Aaron. "We'll talk soon. Don't involve anyone else." That was it. 5 words. No affection, no explanation. I replied, "Can we meet tonight?" No answer. When I got home, the mailbox was full of envelopes, bills, a card from my aunt, and one from a law office downtown. I didn't open it right away. The sight of the printed letterhead made my hands shake. I hid it under a pile of magazines, telling myself it couldn't be what I thought it was. Tuesday came and went in a blur. I stayed home from work, pretending to have a cold. My mother called again to check in, which meant she wanted an update to feed her nerves. I told her Aaron and I were fine. The lie came out smooth as silk. But that night, when I looked out the window and saw his car pull into the driveway, my breath caught. He walked in calmly, set his briefcase down, and nodded like I was a stranger. "You're home," I said, forcing a smile. "We should talk." He didn't sit. "We will," he said simply. "Tomorrow." "That's it. You've been gone 4 days." He looked at me then, really looked, and I felt small for the first time in years. "You said it was a joke," he said quietly. "So let's treat it like one. The punchline comes tomorrow." He went upstairs without another word. I didn't sleep that night. His tone scared me more than shouting ever could. It was calm, final, rehearsed. In the morning, when he left for work, he didn't kiss the twins goodbye. They asked why Daddy was so quiet, and I told them he was just tired. After they left for school, I finally opened the envelope from the law office. My hands trembled as I read the header, Notice of Consultation, Preliminary Separation Agreement Discussion. My name and Aaron's printed neatly beneath it. The room spun. I sat down on the kitchen floor, the paper shaking in my lap. It wasn't just gossip anymore. It wasn't anger or hurt pride. It was action. Aaron wasn't cooling off. He was planning. I told myself that piece of paper didn't mean anything. People talk to lawyers all the time, right? It didn't mean he was serious. Maybe he just wanted to scare me, make me feel guilty, get some kind of reaction. That's what I kept repeating in my head as I folded the letter and shoved it back into the envelope. By the time the twins came home from school, I'd put on makeup and fixed my hair like nothing had happened. I made their favorite pasta, set the table, and told myself Aaron would walk through the door and we'd talk it out like adults. Except when he did come home, he went straight upstairs. Didn't say a word about dinner, didn't ask about the kids, just walked past me with that same unreadable calm. I followed him up. Aaron, I said, trying to sound casual, we need to talk about this. He didn't look up from his phone. Tomorrow, I have work tonight. You can't just ignore me, I said, my voice sharper than I meant it to be. You're acting like I've done something unforgivable. He set the phone down slowly, looked at me and said, Haven't you? The words hit like a slap. I wanted to argue, to twist them into something smaller, less real. It wasn't what you think, I said. It was a joke that got out of hand. Everyone laughed. No, he said evenly. They didn't. For a moment, I saw something flicker in his expression, disappointment, maybe even sadness, but it vanished as quickly as it came. He turned back to his work, and that was the end of the conversation. That night, I couldn't stop pacing. I wanted to call Clara, but I knew she'd just say, I told you so. Instead, I called my mother. He's punishing me, I said. He's making me feel like I committed a crime. She sighed. You embarrassed him, sweetheart. Men hold on to things like that. Give him time. Time? I snapped. He's talking to lawyers. She went quiet, then said softly, He's not the type to bluff, Liora. You might need to apologize properly. Not excuses, just, I'm sorry. I didn't like that answer. I wanted someone to tell me I was right, that he was overreacting, so I called Daniel instead. He sounded half asleep. Still dealing with the fallout? He asked. I need advice, I said. He's freezing me out completely. Daniel laughed. You kissed me in front of your husband and half his co-workers. What did you expect? It wasn't serious, I said. It was just supposed to get his attention. Then you got it, he said dryly. Congrats. You're not helping. I'm not supposed to, he said. You made your mess. Now live in it. I hung up on him. The next morning, I went to work pretending everything was normal, but whispers followed me down the hallway. I caught people glancing at me, then looking away. I knew that look. Someone had told someone, and now it was office gossip. During lunch, Denise leaned over from the next desk and said, Rough weekend, huh? I forced a laugh. You people need better hobbies. She shrugged. Hey, I'm not judging. Just maybe lay low for a bit. When I got home that evening, Aaron was at the dining table with a laptop open and a folder beside it. I could see papers spread out. Our mortgage documents, insurance, joint accounts. My stomach twisted. What are you doing? He didn't look up. Organizing. For what? Just making sure things are clear, clean. Clean? I repeated. You make it sound like you're erasing me. He paused for a moment, then said quietly, You already did that yourself. I wanted to scream, to make him react, but he just turned another page, calm as stone. That calm scared me more than anger ever could. Later, when he finally went to bed, I opened his laptop. I don't even know what I was looking for. Proof that he was bluffing, maybe. But what I found was a folder labeled Separation Drafts. Inside were scanned copies of our financials, custody paperwork templates, and notes from a lawyer's office. He wasn't bluffing. The next morning, I called my mother again. "He's actually doing it," I said. "He's planning to separate." She sounded shaken. "Oh, sweetheart, maybe it's just precaution. He'll calm down when he sees you're serious about fixing this." "Fixing it how?" "Show him you care. Be the wife he remembers." Her advice sounded like something from a magazine, but I was desperate enough to try. That evening, I cooked his favorite meal, set the table, dimmed the lights, even opened a bottle of wine we'd been saving for our anniversary. When he came home, I smiled, like nothing was wrong. "Dinner's ready," I said softly. He looked at the table, then at me. "You don't have to do this." "I want to," I said. "We need to talk, Aaron." He sat down across from me, but his posture stayed stiff. "I made a mistake," I said. "But it was one moment. It didn't mean anything." He said nothing. "I thought you didn't love me anymore," I continued. "You never touched me, never looked at me. I felt invisible. I just wanted to humiliate me," he said quietly. "That's not fair." "What's not fair," he interrupted, still calm, "is that you turn my birthday into a stage for your insecurity. In front of our friends, in front of our children's future teachers. Do you have any idea how that felt?" I stared at him, speechless. He'd never spoken to me like that. Measured, controlled, precise. It was terrifying. "You could have yelled," I said finally. "You could have told me you were angry." He looked at me steadily. "I don't yell anymore. I act." The words chilled me. After dinner, he went upstairs. I sat alone at the table, staring at the half-empty glasses of wine. For once, I didn't finish mine. The next few days were quiet, too quiet. He still lived in the house, still drove the twins to school, still paid the bills. But he moved like a guest. Every conversation was polite, distant, efficient. He never touched me, never even brushed my hand. Clara dropped by midweek. She looked around the house, then at me. "It feels tense in here." "He's overreacting," I said quickly. "You know how he gets." "Actually," she said softly, "I've never seen him like this. That's what worries me." "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means he's calm," she said. "When Aaron's calm, he's decided something." I didn't answer. After she left, I went through his office drawers. I found printed statements, a list of contacts, and another document labeled Custody Discussion Points. My name was on it again. Something inside me cracked. I stormed upstairs, into the bedroom, holding the papers in my hand. "You're planning to take the kids?" I demanded. He didn't even flinch. "Planning to protect them." "From what?" He finally looked at me then, and I almost wished he hadn't. His voice was low, tired. "From the storm that follows you everywhere." "That's cruel," I whispered. "It's honest," he said. He walked out, leaving me standing there with the papers shaking in my hands. Later that night, I called my mother again, my voice trembling. "He's serious, Mom. He's actually collecting evidence." She hesitated. "Then maybe you need a lawyer, too." "I don't need one. I just need him to remember who I am." "Maybe he already does," she said quietly. When we hung up, I sat in the dark living room, staring at the faint glow from his office down the hall. The sound of his typing was steady, rhythmic, like a clock counting down. The next morning, the twins asked if Daddy was mad at me. I told them no, that we were just having grown-up problems. They nodded, trusting me. It almost broke me. By evening, Aaron left a stack of envelopes on the kitchen counter, bank statements, schedules, and one last folded paper addressed to me. Inside was a single line, written in his careful handwriting. "Meeting tomorrow morning. 10 a.m. legal mediation. Please attend. No threats, no insults, just a date, a time, and the end of pretending. That night, I didn't bother turning off the lights. I just sat on the couch, watching dawn creep through the blinds, realizing that for all my games and excuses, I was no longer in control. Tomorrow wasn't just another conversation, it was Judgment Day, and I didn't know how to win anymore. I woke before the alarm and lay still, listening for any clue about his mood. The house was quiet except for the heater clicking on and off. I told myself I would take control of the story before we walked into that office. If I could make him feel something, pity, anger, anything, I could pull him back from whatever he was planning. I made pancakes for the twins and told them Daddy and I had an appointment for boring grown-up things. They asked if it was like the dentist. I said it was even more boring than that. Aaron came down in a grey suit I hadn't seen in months. He looked rested. He told the twins to put on their shoes and said he would drive them. He did not look at me. I said we could ride together after drop-off. He said he would meet me there. After they left, I called my mother. I said he was being cold and that I needed a speech that would reach him. She said I should soften my voice and keep my eyes wet but not messy. She said men heard apologies better if they looked neat. She said I should remind him of the good years. I liked the word remind. It felt gentle, not manipulative. I stood in the mirror and practiced my face until it looked right. On the way to the mediation building, I called Clara. I said she should send Aaron a text because he always liked her calm logic. I said she could tell him I was trying. She said she did not want to be used like that. She said he was making responsible choices. She said I should walk in and own what I did. I said she was judging me. She said she was just tired of my stories. I hung up. The office was on the 4th floor of a low building with glass that showed my reflection from every angle. The lobby smelled like lemon cleaner. A woman at the desk asked my name. I told her, and she asked me to wait. Aaron arrived a minute later with a flat black folder. He nodded at me like we were neighbors. I said we should talk first. Just 5 minutes, just us. He said there was nothing to clear up. He said we would speak inside. I leaned closer and kept my voice low. I said I had made a mistake because I felt lonely, not because I wanted anyone else. I said I thought he had stopped seeing me. I said the kiss was nothing. He said my intentions did not change what I did. He said he would prefer to save statements for the mediator. He looked at the clock and sat down. My phone buzzed. It was our group chat from the restaurant circle. Someone had posted a photo of the cake, and someone else had written a joke about spicy birthdays. I replied that people should grow up and stop acting shocked by a harmless moment. I said Aaron had made a bigger scene by leaving. I watched the dots as people typed. One friend said she thought I was brave for being honest about marriage boredom. Another friend said she felt bad for Aaron. The thread turned into 2 quiet camps, and the air in the lobby felt thin. I deleted my last message and wished I could delete theirs. My mother swept in wearing strong perfume and a soft scarf. She hugged me in front of Aaron and told him she was here for moral support. He said the mediator would not allow guests. She said she would wait in the lobby and pray. She said she hoped he would remember who I was before the kids and the work and the stress. He said he remembered exactly. She blinked, confused, like he had answered a different question. The receptionist called my name. The mediator's door opened. A small woman with kind eyes introduced herself and said she wanted to keep things simple and respectful. She said today would be exploratory. She said the goal was clarity. I said clarity sounded good. Aaron said he agreed. Inside, the room had 3 chairs and a simple table. A glass of water waited at each place. I sat on the left so I could see the door. Aaron sat opposite. The mediator explained the process in a soft voice. She asked for a brief summary of the situation, first from me. I adjusted my sleeve and told a careful story. I said our marriage had been good for many years. I said we had drifted because of long hours and different needs. I said I made a poor choice at a party. I said it was a small thing that looked big. I said I wanted us to communicate better and keep our family stable. She listened and nodded. She asked Aaron for his summary. He spoke slowly, like each word had been measured beforehand. He said the marriage had been steady and mostly kind. He said he had raised concerns about attention and tone over time. He said a public kiss with an ex at his birthday dinner had crossed a boundary. He said he had chosen to seek legal advice to protect the children and the assets while he decided whether reconciliation was possible. The mediator asked if reconciliation was a goal for either of us. I said yes quickly, like a student who knew the answer. Aaron said his goal was protection first and clarity second. He said any other goals would depend on the facts. The mediator asked about the children. I said they were fine and that I was the primary caregiver. I said Aaron was a good father, but often busy. I said the house felt normal. Aaron said the children's routines were stable and should remain that way. He said any plan needed to reduce drama and public scenes. He did not look at me when he said the last words. I leaned forward and used the voice my mother suggested. I said the scene at the party had been a one-time lapse that came from feeling invisible. I said Aaron had pulled away for months. I said I had tried dresses and dinners and patience. I said a woman could not live on silence. Behind that voice, my mind ran through the steps. If I could put loneliness in the center, I could move the kiss to the edge. If I could make the problem look like a communication gap, I could walk us back to normal. The mediator looked thoughtful. I felt hope rise. Then the door opened with a soft knock. The receptionist stepped in with a brown envelope and apologized for the interruption. She said a courier had just arrived with a time-stamped packet for me. She set it in front of me and slipped back out. My hands moved before my brain did. I slid my finger under the tab and pulled out a stack of papers with my name at the top. The first page said petition for legal separation and temporary orders. The second page had a schedule for the twins. The third listed bank accounts I recognized, and some I had not seen in years. There were printouts of texts I had sent to my sister about Aaron being boring. There was a screenshot of my group chat where I had written that he made a scene by leaving. There was a photo from the restaurant I hadn't known anyone had taken, clearer than the blurry tag online. In the corner of the frame, my hand was on Daniel's shoulder, my face turned fully toward his. Aaron's jaw was set in the background, eyes not on me but on the floor, as if he had already left the room in his mind. The mediator's voice was soft. She said these were standard filings for a protective phase. She said the court date listed was soon. She said temporary orders were common. I stared at the dates and realized he had filed the week before he wrote the note on the counter. He had not been cooling off. He had been sharpening lines. My throat went dry. I said this was a cruel performance. I said he could have talked to me first. I said he was punishing me in front of a stranger. I turned to the mediator and said he was turning a small mistake into a public trial because he liked control. I heard my voice rise and forced it down. I said he was trying to make me look unstable. Aaron did not respond to my tone. He spoke to the mediator. He said the documents were for structure. He said he did not want arguments in front of the children. He said he preferred facts to feelings at this stage. He opened his black folder and placed a second, thinner stack on the table. He said these were his proposed terms for property, temporary custody, and communication rules. He said he would like all contact outside of logistics to go through the mediator until further notice. Something in me refused to accept that calm. I reached for my last tool. I told the mediator that he was not this gentle at home. I said he froze me out and would not touch me for days. I said he made me feel worthless. I said no woman could live like that. I said the kiss was a symptom, not the disease. I let my eyes shine the way my mother taught me. I waited. The mediator looked from me to Aaron. She asked Aaron if he wanted to respond. He said the marriage had problems on both sides. He said humiliation in public had forced his hand. He said he did not want to describe more in this setting. He said he had witnesses if needed. He used the word witnesses like it was nothing, like it was an everyday word for bills and schedules. My phone buzzed on the table. It was my mother texting from the lobby. She said she was lightheaded and asked if we were done. She said she had prayed for a soft heart. I put the phone face down and stared at the edge of Aaron's folder. The mediator folded her hands. She said we would take a short break so everyone could breathe. She said we would resume with the documents. She said we would then address evidence. I stood up too fast, and the chair legs scraped the floor. My hands shook. I told myself I could still turn this around if I just found the right words. In the hall, I saw my mother rising from her chair. I told her to sit. I said everything was fine. She looked at my face and sat anyway. When I went back into the room, Aaron was already seated, his folder open, his pen placed neatly at the top of the page like a ruler. The mediator closed the door behind me. She said we would begin with Exhibit A. Her hand reached for Aaron's stack. The door clicked shut. And that was the moment I realized I was no longer the main voice in my own story. The documents on the table didn't look real. My name printed in bold, his signature neat and final underneath. The mediator read the terms calmly, like she was describing the weather. Temporary separation, shared custody, financial division. Each word chipped away at the life I thought I still had. I said we didn't need all this. We could talk like adults. She said this was protection, not punishment. Aaron didn't speak. He just placed another paper on the stack, a screenshot of my messages to Daniel, a photo from the party, a note showing he'd moved money to a separate account days before the kiss. Everything planned, every step deliberate. "You were ready for this," I said. He met my eyes. "I was ready for you to keep testing how far I'd bend." I wanted him to shout, to show something. But his calm was worse than anger. It meant he was done. The mediator asked if I wanted legal counsel. I said no. What could a lawyer fix when the decision had already been made? Afterward, I followed him into the hall. "You're ending this over one mistake." He said, "No, I'm ending this because you called it a mistake instead of cruelty." Then he walked away. At home, the house felt hollow. His suits were gone, the closet half empty. On the bed was a short letter. "This isn't punishment, it's preservation. You wanted attention, I wanted peace. I hope you find what I couldn't give you." I tore it in half and cried until my throat hurt. Days later, I saw him outside the mediation office with my sister. They looked calm, professional. When I approached, Clara said she was helping with the twins' schedule. Aaron thanked her politely. I asked if he had anything left to say to me. He said, "You've had every chance to listen. You just like the sound of your own story better." Then he left. That night, I sat at the kitchen table where his birthday cake had once been, staring at the crumbs of a life I'd tried to control. I'd wanted to prove I still mattered, that I could spark something again. Instead, I'd burned it all down. When the twins asked if Daddy was coming home, I told them he just needed time. But deep down, I knew time wouldn't fix anything. The silence he left behind was too clean, too complete. Aaron hadn't chosen revenge or rage. He'd chosen distance, and that was worse. It wasn't punishment. It was proof that he'd stopped needing me entirely.